What's up? So we are gonna do a tier list. I haven't done yet. I'm very excited to do it, by the way, because I usually don't do stuff like this. And at the moment, I feel like I want to do one because it's kind of like a couple more days until some patch happening, so changes are happening, and literally tell you my thoughts of the game currently and what is I think OP at the moment. We are currently 3.5 in the patch notes and yeah, all these changes happening on 3.6 are champion ones like Vladimir and Garen and stuff like that. And I'm gonna put stuff like Garen in kind of like needs buff, but it's possibly gets buff already, so I don't know if it's okay after a couple days in the patch it's live, but currently I'll say my feelings on what I think about them. Okay, so we're gonna do like one by one because I don't know if it's on alphabetical, but I don't think so. I mean, Lucian is not like number one, but I guess it's fine. So we start with Lucian. Lucian, wait, can I scroll in? 150, can't really do, no, a little bit more. I guess it's fine. So what we have here, 2 OP, needs nerf. It's okay, almost good, minor buff required. Weak buff required. So weak and buff required. So for example, we start with Lucian, because Lucian is one thing I actually think is kind of like an okay champion, and I don't believe like Lucian is OP, but it has a very good dex where you can actually play Lucian, and it's kind of fun though. I don't know if it is needing a little bit buff, because there are a lot of decks that actually kind of like has Lucian in it that is on old school ones, and possibly they're gonna receive a little bit of buff and make it stronger. The meta currently, I think it is not good enough. It needs a minor buff, for example, I don't know, possibly like 1 HP buff. But if that will happen, it would make it too OP. So it's kind of like it's in the middle of okay and almost good. All right. So I would put it into it's okay. I wouldn't want a little bit of buff on Lucian. Lucian is pretty cool on its own. It possibly just needs support cards. No, if it's needing support cards and stuff like that, I think there is some small buff required for Lucians. Lucian really needs a small buff to be like kind of be strong again, because most of the time like Lucian was played with Zed, for example, and Zed and Lucian is a very interesting deck, but it's not my favorites because the playstyle is very aggressive. Although it's not an aggro one, it's kind of like keep your champions alive and they're gonna just wreck you. And Lucian has like multiple combinations that's kind of like alright. So it's I kind of think it needs just a small buff. For example, like 1 power buff, like make it a 4-2, for example, instead of like 3-2. It would change things. Like it's already very punishing if you don't block Lucian, but make it more punishing. I don't say like it needs like such a big buff. If it would receive like 1 HP, I would put it on 2 OP and needs a nerf. I guess something like that, or some support cards. Now that was my thought of Lucian. The next one is Garen. Garen is about to get like buffed, so all I think about is currently is Garen is I play a lot of early decks, so Garen is not weak. Garen is not weak. Garen is not weak. I tell you why. Because elites are actually kind of strong. It has a very strong playline. But because it's kind of like missing something. Like a small buff will make it like okay. And if Riot kind of like buffs it a little bit too much, it's gonna be too OP. So I think Garen is not weak. Is not weak. I tell you that. Because I had much experience with Garen, because obviously I tried out. Garen is just an okay champion. It's 5 mana, 5/5. It's okay. Garen. Yes. Okay. This is fine.
Chaos hasn't sued because of you. This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
We're fine. I'm okay with this.
Sorry. Wait, let's make it bigger. This is fine. Yep, this is fine. Dying well? Yes, it is. Kind of feels like it. I continue. Next one is Lux. I think Lux doesn't require nerf, buff, or anything. Lux is okay. I think Lux has a decent dex. It's kind of like okay. I don't think like you need to change anything in Lux. There is Jay's combination with Lux, and there was a lot of decks as well apart from that, like Homidonger and Wells, like Aphelios. Now that Aphelios' ability is now 2 mana instead of 3, it changes a lot of things, but I think it's still okay and playable with Lux. Lux is okay. I don't hate Lux. Next card is next card is Brown. Brown is 4 mana 0/6. That is actually not having any decks currently. Too much. I try to make Garen decks because I love Garen. Why am I talking Garen? Brown is such a cool card. I love to play Brown and Vladimir back in the days. And I believe that one buff to his HP was very great. But to make him a little bit more viable, I would possibly give it one more power as well. So against some aggro decks, it has some chances of a comeback. Because most of the time, if you play Brown and Failure or which region ever, you just need that one extra damage. So I would kind of like go for almost good but minor buff required to make it like a comeback from Vlad and Brown deck. So I think it's kind of like it. In terms of poros, either kind of like make the level up requirement to be a bit less though. Like instead of 10 damage, it has to survive 8 damage. Surviving 8 damage is kind of like a very decent buff to Brown. I think that wouldn't be actually kind of like changing too much. You've just leveled up Brown faster. It was actually never a problem of level 2 Brown. Nobody complains about level 2 Brown because it's actually hard to pull off and it doesn't win you the games. I mean, level 2 champions should kind of like give you game winning chances. For example, what we have already like Lux and Lucian as well. Level 2 is just great, but level 2 Brown is just kind of like not doing too much. So it's just a one minor buff required. Okay, next one is Ashe. Ashe is a card that is 4 mana for 3, and it is flash freezing on attack. They buffed it recently so it doesn't require 5 flash freezes happening on level up. It needs only 4. The only thing I'm thinking about like Ashe here, the current state, is I think Ashe is okay. Ashe is okay. Like I don't think it needs a buff. Ashe is okay, but because Ashe is not seeing that much play, I'll possibly be like it needs some changes. Like, I guess 1 HP. 1 HP changes to make it kind of like, okay. It's not too terrible. I'm still not putting it on okay. I feel like if there would be meta decks and cards we played together with Ashe, would actually make sense. Or Flash Freeze mechanic would make sense, like the Den Mother one. I wish I could play games like Den Mother, but there's not enough decks that actually kind of like happens to be like that. I would like to change the level of requirement back to how it was, just to increase her HP, or when she levels up, you gain the card instantly instead of kind of like drawing it from the next card from your deck. The Flash Freeze slow speed card on level up she gets. I just don't like that you just get that on the next card draw. Even though it draws your card, like literally it's kind of like you don't waste a card, but it just slows you down. You kind of want to have like good top deck and then you just can't get that. You can't do a burst speed Flash phases, it's just kind of like vulnerable. So I would possibly change something like that. Or make that card like fast speed, because we have already like Veigar Event Horizon, it stuns already. So on fast speed, this could be the same. Increase the mana cost and make it fast speed. So it's kind of like you could survive next turn. We have Anivia. Anivia is I don't really talk too much about this because it is okay. Anivia doesn't need a buff anymore. It's just so good already. You can play Zombie Anivia. I don't wish Zombie Anivia to be on the ladder because he's just so good. Before the buff though, there was a meta, I think it was the Worlds as well, when Zombie Anivia was a thing, and it still is a thing. And there I just got to be fighting against some people who play this again once in a while. Apart from the meta being like too broken, too fast. If that wouldn't be the case, I think Anivia would kind of like live longer. I don't want the buff. I want to be like the same, and we're just gonna be like moving on with the patches from patches and kind of like get that. Okay, next one, Tryndamere. Tryndamere needs a buff? No, Tryndamere is okay. I believe Tryndamere is a very okay card. It is Last Breath, and it gets toughness on level up. I don't think it's kind of like this. It has a deck, like Field of Rush deck, FTR Shadow Isles, or Ionia, or Shurima. It's good. Doesn't it? It's not OP, it's okay. FTR is for a reason. FTR, you have to survive until like turn 9 with 3 mana left. It's pretty hard to pull off, and if you do, I think you deserve to win. Sometimes you just kind of like lose anyway, even if you do it. You do the FTR, you leave yourself vulnerable to anything, and I think it's just good. I don't think it needs a buff or a CP. Well, I play a lot of FTR, mate, and I believe it is kind of like a thing that is a thing. Like it happens. It happens that it has at least attacked with me a lot of times. I mean, most of the time, if you manage to take control of the surroundings and get yourself Tryndamere down. Most of the time, I don't even play FTR to have Tryndamere down. You just get like Trundle, and then you play the pillar, and after the pillar, you just play Tryndamere. And the Tryndamere signature spell is even better. It's just very great. It's just too good. That's all. I think it's fine. It doesn't need a buff. Even though like you think like it does need a buff. Buffing wouldn't change anything. Well, it used to be like a leveled up version to have fearsome as well. No longer, it has toughness instead. I guess if you really think about it, you can give it fearsome on level up, but it doesn't really matter if you get fearsome or not, because I mean, it kind of matters. It just kind of matters, but I don't think it's kind of needing that fearsome again back in where it is. It's just okay. Okay, next one is Shen. Shen is a very interesting card. It is very interesting, punishable if nothing happens. It's bad against control. I think it is not weak, but it is kind of like good. It needs a little bit of a buff, like a way to survive, and that's all. I don't think it's kind of like that weak. Like for example, I would make Shen like 3 mana, 3/4 or 2/4 or 2/5, because Shen is not powerful. Even in League of Legends, it was not powerful. So I would make it 3 mana, 2/6 and be like that, because most of the time his attacks never matter. The only thing that matters is the next unit you attack with. That's what I would change. Okay, Zed. Zed is a card that is that had a lot of prime time in meta, being oppressive, strong, good combination with Lucian, and combinations with Lulu and Poppy as well. I think currently the meta doesn't really like Zed too much, but Zed is a champion that is okay, because it is very powerful. It summons multiple units. There were games where I just kind of like randomly had Zed in deck, like a Viego deck, and Zed basically just kind of like overrun the enemy on its own, because I had a way to save my champion. Just try it out. Viego Zed instead of Viego Kindred. The same deck, just swap these champions out and you see the difference. Yasuo. Yasuo doesn't need buff. Of course it does. Yasuo is not weak. 4 mana 4/4 with quick attack is not weak. Whoever told you like Yasuo is bad is because they try to make a deck around stun cards. That's not how Yasuo is working. You kind of like have that optional thing that it does stun as well. But the only thing I would change possibly is kind of like give it more attack. Like, or some way to protect himself. Like, it would make sense if you could somehow deny a card that goes to Yasuo. For example, if you sacrifice, discard a card, you could activate it. I mean, you could activate Yasuo to discard a card to deny an enemy spell that won't go to Yasuo. Like, I would kind of like put something in there, like if you play and run start as well, like Yasuo, get a memory cloak, but it's different because only you can put it on Yasuo and nothing else. So you could deny a spell, but it should be expensive, like 3 mana to deny a spell to Yasuo. And it should be summon and round star, or just one of them, just round star or something. Round star, get wind shield, because that's his ability on League of Legends as well, and it kind of makes sense. And then you can build a deck around like stuns, because Yasuo stays there, and it's just basically a control deck, because nothing else you could do. Control is pretty bad, especially on Ionia, and then you can make an Yasuo and Karma deck. It would kind of be funny, and I would play that. But now, currently, Yasuo needs a buff. Next one, we have Karma. Karma is an okay champion. I don't know why people think it's bad, because people not playing it, afraid to play with it. it is strong. It's not OP, but it's okay. It's just okay. I don't need buff, but it will receive one. And the buff that's gonna be received is just kind of like funny because it received one buff not so long ago, like half a year ago, to reduce the reduce the mana points from 6 to 5 because it was broken back in the days for some reason. Possibly they're gonna be like giving more HP so it can survive, and so you can place Karma not just on turn 10 but earlier as well. That's all. Next one is Draven. Draven is a card. The reason you play Draven is the spinning axes. Spinning axes are actually very powerful, but I think it kind of like needs a change. It's okay at the moment, but I would like to change the HP back to 3 because it was very fun to level up Draven, and now it's kind of like almost impossible because you can't block with Draven. Previously you could block with Draven, take a hit, get a spinning axe, but now you can't do it, and now you just play Draven because of the spinning axes, and it's kind of like it's kind of like bland strategy. I don't really like that. So I would possibly be like, Draven, you gotta be needing 1 HP, but I would take out something from it, like when you play Draven, or I don't know, somehow you get less spinning axes. I don't know how I would change it though, but I possibly want to change it so you could level it up. Next one is Katarina. Katarina is one of the currently worst champions out there. Obviously it needs to change. I don't know how it would be actually possible to buff Katarina, but possibly she needs all the support cards and all the cards actually ever needed in order to make a use of her. She's a Nasus, that's the problem. I think a complete revamp would be the good option, but I don't know, rallying in Nasus kind of like is not thing because Nasus doesn't need it because it doesn't have units. I wish there would be kind of like combinations with Nasus and other regions, so rallying actually makes sense. I mean, Demacia wants to rally, but what about Ionia? If Ionia want to rally some reason, or failure, then I think Katarina would be like played, but currently nobody wants to actually have a rally apart from Demacia. Vladimir is the same as Brown. I want to see Vladimir and Brown again. I would possibly make it so Vlad is level 2 changes to level 1 and the level 2 gives something else instead, does something else. Like Drain on the first level would make the most sense, but you can level up pretty easy anyway, leaving you to have like just a few options. I don't know how I would change it, but it kind of needs a small buff somehow, some way, and yeah, it would kind of like be more playable because this was my first deck, Brown and Vlad, and I think I would love to see it. Next one we have Darius. Darius got a huge buff, I mean, not so long ago. 2 HP buff, and it's actually crazy on level up. It gets, not on level up, before level up as well. It used to be 6-5 on level 1, and now it's 6-6 on level 1 and 10-7 on level up, so it gained 2 HP on level up. It's kind of crazy how strong it is currently, and I believe Darius is okay. But it turns out nothing. Turns out Darius gets buff very soon, so I'm actually looking forward to not seeing that. Okay, next one is Teemo. Teemo needs a buff. Teemo is not okay. I like Teemo. Teemo needs a buff. A small buff. I don't know what small buff it needs it. either 2 damage, 2 power, or it needs like I don't know, something, 1 HP, or I don't know. It just kind of like feels like, yeah, Teemo needs a buff. Because if you compare Teemo to any 1 mana champion, compared to Zoe, if you have Zoe is good that it's 1 HP, but Teemo is not, because Teemo just doesn't do anything if it just doesn't hit once. Zoe does something. You want to kill it. And if the enemy just plays like a 1-2 elusive or whatever elusive that there is, it literally doesn't do anything. Teemo doesn't do anything. And if he plays an elusive, you can't attack with Teemo. Teemo just kind of like screw this game. You just wasted a card that doesn't do anything. And it's just a huge tempo loss. And people can remove it easily. Third deal 6 damage to your Nexus. Yeah, the problem is, if they would buff like Teemo, other people would abuse it. Like Aggro wouldn't use it. It wouldn't be that terrible though, but it's just, I don't know. I think Teemo is not good enough. I feel like it's not good enough, or it just needs like more support cards. Like level up requirement is 10 instead of like 15 mushrooms. I think that's what I would prefer. I think you need just to put Dan first, right? No? Here we go. Because if you say something like that before, then it doesn't work. Yep. What's up, Dan, brother? You complaining? Okay. Next one, we're talking about Azrael. Azrael is okay. Not too broken, not too weak. It is kind of like hard to pull off, to make Azrael do the thing. And if you would nerf it, it would just kind of like not do anything. I think Azrael okay. I mean, I don't believe like, it's a gimmick. It's a good gimmick. and I stay with it, it's okay. Next one is Jinx. Jinx is a card I really love, and I love playing Draven and Jinx back in the days when it was okay. But now I think it's kind of like not seeing enough play. Like you don't really want to throw away all your cards anymore. And all these discarding decks nowadays just never run out of cards. You can't run this with that. I mean, it kind of makes sense so you don't run like Siren and Jinx, because Siren never runs out of cards, and Jinx wants to run out of cards. I think it kind of needs just a small buff, not a big one, huge one. I would possibly prefer like when you level up, you get a rocket as well, or something like that. It gets immediately a rocket, that's all I need. So it's kind of like faster. And it's actually not punishing to throw all your cards and then rely on it to survive, or just kind of have more HP, so it's kind of like more okay that it survives and easier to survive. It's kind of like something like that. It's actually good, you know. Draven and Jinx is still good, but not competitive enough. And I want it to be like a bit more competitive. And I think it needs a small buff. Next one, Fiora. I'm putting Fiora on the bottom because Fiora is just kind of like so bad at the moment. A lot of decks just kind of like ignore Fiora. There's not a minimum that counters Fiora. There is a lot of ways to remove Fiora. Imagine you play against Nasus, Fiora just kind of like dies from a Scorcher, and then a lot of times I feel like you're focusing too much on Fiora, and I think it kind of like needs a huge buff to be playable. Make it so it's kind of like it needs to kill 5 units. But the thing is, Oh, decks like Field Rush doesn't even play units for you. And what do you do then? They just kind of like vengeance your character and you'll be like, oh, and that's all. Just kind of like, it doesn't seem like very fun at the moment. It used to be a little bit more fun. It's just challenging always to do the requirements. It would be kind of like too bad if it would be too easy to fulfill the requirements, but it kind of needs a change. In Spell Shield, imagine running it with Target, but then, nah, I don't know, mate. I don't feel like it is. And Spell Shields are easy to pop at the moment, especially with all the decks that currently are like PNZ. They just remove you. Nasus just removes you, and it's basically one man trick. If it would be having like any support card apart from, you know, spells and stuff, it would be nice if you could combine it with other champions. Like that would benefit like Fiora, for example. Shen and Fiora was a thing, and I want both of them to be like together again and not be like that. Okay. Okay. Oops. Wrong button. Almost clicked on, you know. Almost banned you. I want you to time out. Okay. Next champion we're talking about now is Homidonger. Homidonger received a support card, Hextech Handler, making Homidonger so much fun to play. The Hextech Handler makes the whole Homidonger very good. I don't know if it requires a buff. Only thing I believe is it is on its own very weak. You want to play Homidonger, most of the time you don't even rely on Donger Meister. You just play Donger, it dies immediately. I kind of feel like a lot of things could be actually so much better. Like he doesn't have to see like your turrets to place down to level up to 2, so it kind of like would make more sense. I mean, level 2 doesn't really do that much. It would be much better if it would be kind of like leveling outside from seeing it, or make level 2 a little bit more OP, like a game finisher instead of what it is currently. Like if it would be like a game finisher, like level 2, your turrets get overwhelmed or something like that, or your turrets share keywords, that would make Homidonger like good. It would be okay. I mean, I have a deck with Homidonger that is a little bit competitive, but I feel like it's missing a very small minor buff for it, and that's it. HP buff, anything I would be happy. It's fun to see Homidonger on ladder. I like changes. Next up, Alice. Alice is a card everybody's playing. And you know what my idea is? Alice is too freaking OP. Alice is a card that has been used in aggro, used in control, used everywhere where you want to play Shadow Whales and live longer, because she's just too strong of an opener. Like, too strong, brother. Too strong of an opener. Fearsome, 2-3, and summon the Spiderling? What in the name? Like, what? I felt like at first I didn't believe my eyes. Like, does Shadow Eyes need this much of a control or an aggro? I mean, I believe Shadow Eyes, it can have aggro, but this is too much. You play Alice, the House Spiders, like all these easily spammable units, it just makes too OP. And literally, Alice Spider aggro live through time, and after 2 years, it's still kind of like one of the tier 1 decks for aggros. And I would believe something needs to be changed. For example, I don't know, if you are fearsome, you shouldn't have like that much of HP. I think. I don't know. Something needs to be changed. Ari got nerfed to 2-2 after being 2-3 for 2 months or 1 month. I believe this needs to be something like that. I don't really like Shadow Isles with Alice there. Unless, you know, they nerf Spider somehow. And if you level up like Alice, just kind of like has 4 damage instead of like normally champions would have less. And I'm thinking like that. So I believe that is something I don't like. Aggro is not my favorite archetype. That's what I believe. Okay, next one is Callista. Callista is a champion that is not seeing play. It is actually a very strong card. If you could play with some certain combos like Rekindler, Callista, that is some of the most hilarious combos I ever played in expeditions. When I started playing this game, it's hilarious. It just really was. I believe I kind of want to see something similar, and level 2 Callista just kind of like just gets easily removed, and the level 1 as well. So I believe I would change the stats, swap around, make it 3-4, elusive, fearsome, 3-4 fearsome instead. So I would still kind of be like, it's not weak, it's almost good. Or just kind of like somehow make it easier to level. I mean, there is support cards that make her level like in 1 turn. But that doesn't change the fact like leveling up doesn't do anything unless you have like some insane combos. If you would buff this one, it would be okay, but if you buff it too much, it would be too OP. So it's kind of like pretty much in between these two, but because it doesn't see play, that's why I'm actually sticking on the down one. And I don't say it's too weak because it's not. Next one, Thrash. Thrash is a card that is... You're gonna be very surprised. I think Thrash is worse than Callista. I think Thrash is just such a bad card nowadays. You just don't play anything. You don't play Thrash anymore. People are no longer playing currently. I think this is just my current thinking of the game, the current patch. Like, there's no reason to play Thrash because people not playing units at all. If you kind of like want to play Thrash and Nasus, you either just kind of like buff one of them, and like huge buff to make it worth your while. Because most of the time when you play Thrash, you don't want to summon your units unless they are big like Thrash. Or it would be nice if you could summon like Hecarim or I don't know, something else that actually kind of like cool to summon. But there are not a lot of champions you want to summon though, unless something like that happens. I would kind of like make the requirement from 6 to 5 or 4 to make it like okay. Although even then it would be kind of like pretty much obviously not seeing in any sort of decks, but it's too expensive. 3-6, I mean 3-5 or 6. I think it's 5, right? 3-5. I would buff it. I definitely would buff it. Too expensive for the mana cost. Well, I mean, let's see. Oh, okay, 3-6. It's 5 mana 3-6. Stats are wrong, and it's just really wrong. It's something I don't like. It just needs a huge buff in order to see play outside of Nasus, and Nasus currently doesn't see play because you can't really kill units. He was saying bad words like, well, you know, and you shouldn't do that, especially now. You just come to my stream and be like, "Add the streamer." Yeah, just go away then. Thank you very much. You don't have to watch. I mean, do you go into a hotel, I mean, or you go into a restaurant and go to the waiter and be like, screw you, like last time you know, whatever happened. I just don't do that. I mean, what's wrong with you? Okay, I could put it on almost good, but I don't know. Thrash is just kind of like very weird. Just permaban him. Well, no, he's fun at sometimes. I don't hate him. He just kind of like sometimes be very childish, and that's when I time him out. I mean, most of the time people just kind of like ban him. I think Bucky did as well, but I guess it's fine. Kind of need that. It sometimes cheers me up. Okay, next card is Hecarim. Hecarim is a very interesting card. It's the same as Callista. I think they are kind of like neat, but something needs to be changed. A very small buff would be actually kind of nice. It would be kind of like pretty fun if Hecarim would summon before attacking the ephemerals instead of after. You know, it's kind of like pretty bad that it summons after in combat the attack as well. I don't know how I would change it, but I think just a minor change would be actually kind of good. Like +1/+1 would make it like not that broken, but would make it kind of like alright. So that's what I believe is. I don't think it's kind of like needing that much of a buff to make it viable, but still it needs a little bit. I mean, Atrocity is literally Hecarim's spear, and you don't want to use that on Hecarim, so kind of like it's pretty weird. Yeah. Okay, Quinn. Oh my god, I don't even know what to think about this. Because I love Quinn, but I hate scouts now because how broken they are. It is not the problem of Quinn that is too OP. It is the problem of the support cards being too broken with Quinn. I think Quinn needs to be nerfed because of how the support cards are strong, and Quinn as well. It's so easy to just overwhelm your opponent. Scouts are broken, needs to be turned down a little bit, tuned down. There's no other thing about it. It's only because of Misfortune, and yeah, and the way Bilgewater spams cards. Just a small nerf would be actually quite nice. I don't know how they would nerf it though, but I would possibly want to. Okay, next one, Sejuani. Sejuani is an okay champion. I don't believe Sejuani is broken. At a time when GP and Sejuani was a major thing, I was like, I hate this card, needs nerf. But at the time, I was like, well, it's fine. It's fine. It's no longer seeing that much play. GP got tuned down. I could think about like it needs a small nerf, like 1 HP less, but it's kind of doesn't matter, right? At turn 6, it's kind of like alright. There's not a lot of decks that kind of like run Sejuani, and it's a pretty fun card. And if you play it with Nab, I guess there are something like that. I started enjoying Nab nowadays after a while. When it had the prime time, I didn't like it because it was very annoying. And I don't really like annoying decks and OP ones. At the time, like 1 year ago, I would possibly say this needs to be like nerfed. But not really now. It's fine. It got changed. It got nerfed. The deck got nerfed. Like Harpoon got nerfed. If Harpoon would be still like 3 mana, I think I would change this. But Harpoon got nerfed. So if I'm looking at the champion, I don't really just say like the champion needs a nerf. The support cards of the champion needs a nerf, and then it's kind of like the champion would be okay as well. It's on itself. For example, Quinn as well. If Quinn's support cards would be not that broken, I mean, Daimyo. I mean, before like Formidable expansion came out, Scouts was broken as well, and to make it even more broken, now that there's the Duran one, Duran Sculpture, that gives every unit like extra HP. Basically, I know it's kind of like slow down, it can be countered, but it's just too oppressive against so many decks, because they have like so much HP. That was the problem with the Bandle City as well, the Bandle City build. Like, they get more HP, the more units you play, the more HP they get. You can't remove them one by one, it's very hard. Quinn or the support cards needs a nerf. I mean, yes, guarantee you that is kind of needs a change. I don't like him. Even now, nobody plays, not a lot of people play Scouts anymore, because it's kind of like very unfortunate against some decks, but it's still kind of like one of the most broken decks. So I guess there's that. Okay, next card we see is Maokai. Maokai is a champion that is mostly played in deep or in a meal deck, and it kind of is a thing about like I feel like deep is in a bad position at the moment. It has been in a bad position in a while, but it's gonna be like growing out of it sometimes, the more expansion come out, but it seems like they're always kind of like pushed down. So I kind of feel like Maokai got a little bit buff. That is huge, but not too much. The way I would buff it, possibly buffing some support cards, or I don't know how. I would buff, like I always said, like I would buff like Maokai by level, I mean the signature spell. I would buff the signature spell. Like you wouldn't use like his signature spell any other place apart from deep, right? Why can't your signature spell heal your Nexus? I mean, that's what all I want. Heal your Nexus. I mean, sometimes that couple HP matters, and literally that would help. So many times when I play deep, I just wanted to use that to heal my Nexus, and it couldn't. And that would actually help quite a lot. Not too much. It would just kind of like help a little bit. I don't really want too much of a big buff, but that would be actually quite good. Okay, next one is Shyvana. Swain is a champion that I always will say is okay. Because it is. It is okay. It is okay because it is combined with so many champions during this time, like Teemo and Caitlyn and Gnar. The problem is champions got nerfed so much that every single time something get nerfed, the support card is Swain. I believe I want to put like Swain down a little bit, just because they keep nerfing something that started to become good with Swain. So I kind of say it is the most balanced champion in the game, but I just don't seem to be able to play it with anything. You mean the sapling toss? I don't care about that. The only thing I'm talking about like is the healing of Maokai. Signature spell. This one, Maokai Sap Magic. It heals 3 HP to your allies and toss 3. It would be nice if it would go to your Nexus as well. I wouldn't mind if it would be like heal 2 only, not 3, heal 2, but heal Nexus as well. It would make it so much better. And nobody else would use it anyway. I mean, if you want a healer in your games, you would use like something else instead of this, don't you? Like Withering Well, for example, that would heal 3. So this is something I want above in the Maokai deck. It would kind of like help a lot. Vi is almost good. No, Vi is okay. It's not almost good. Vi is okay. Vi is a champion that can be played so many fun ways. It's a champion that is very strong, but not too OP, not too weak. Doesn't need a buff. I think it's kind of like balanced. Vi is very nice card. It's slow as well if you just draw it. It depends on your card draw. It depends on a lot of things, and it kind of like feels like it's a nice thing to play it down and hit something, control. Vi is good, and Vi does the thing she does nicely. Levels up some games, doesn't win some games. Some games are won because of Vi, but it's kind of like okay. It's 5 mana with 4 HP toughness. It can be removed on turn 5 when you play it. It's just good. It feels like you're not even sad that the enemy just wasted their removal on her, because they almost spend as much as you did. So it kind of like feels like a very nice card. I don't feel like it's bad. And it's in PNZ, meaning it's kind of like in a good region as well. Yeah. Next one. Oh, up in hell, you say lacing too much. Yes. Nice. Very good. You know what I say to lacing? What do I say? Da 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 da. What? What? Really? Really? Such a bad card with like 49% win rates and no decks that actually kind of like are too good with Lee Sin? Bruh, Lee Sin is the least fun champion. It needs a nerf. Doesn't matter. It needs a nerf. Too strong. The kick ability, too great. You combine it with Victor and PNZ, you just basically have this as a control card. It is just a good control card. It's kind of like you think about Vi, but you actually feel like Vionia, then why not Lee Sin? It does the same thing. It is even better sometimes. It needs a nerf. And now I know it feels like unjustified because there's not a lot of good decks with Lee Sin, but there is. You either nerf Lee Sin or the support cards for Lee Sin. I would rather nerf like Eye of the Dragon completely, so it doesn't summon a dude that heals you, or just summons like a normal dragon that doesn't have lifesteal. I mean, I would totally like that, and then I would accept Lee Sin, because now at the moment Lee Sin is just too much. So it's just so unfun to play against. It doesn't feel like fun to play against. That's the decks I'm actually cards I'm putting on the top that is not fun to play against, and it's kind of like feels like solitaire for them. Okay. Next one, Fizz. Fizz is a champion I love because it is not broken. It has a very bad level 2, but the ability of Fizz is excellent. It's amazing. It's such an interesting thing. So many people play it as well. Fizz is just very well done. It's one of the most well done champions in the game. Next one is Maokai's friend, Nautilus. Because they are kind of like stuck together, we're gonna put them together as well. And because they are kind of like having the same problems, it needs a buff. I don't know what, it just needs them. It feels like they are not great enough. I mean, I like Deep. Deep is kind of like a very neat stuff, right? Neat stuff to do. It's not like something people don't like to play. It's something people like to play and want to play, but can't play because it's too bad. That's the problem. Okay, next one is gonna be GP. GP got nerfed. 1 HP less. I felt like it didn't change anything. And they started changing cards that actually kind of like help him do Pink City, like the Lecture Yordle. That's a huge nerf. Lecture Yordle was a nerf to anybody that has had it in the deck. Like Teemo Swain, JP as well. It's just ridiculous. I will say it's kind of like it's an okay champion now. It is cool though. I like GP. GP is my favorite aggro card. Like it's very nice. If I would play an aggro, I would rather play GP now. Like before, it doesn't feel like broken anymore. It feels like if you manage to do your attack with it, I mean it's very hard to pull off. It's kind of cool. It's not like you hate to play against, or it's not like you hate playing it. These are the champions I actually hate to play now, because they are broken. I don't like things that are broken. Okay, next one is TF. TF is almost good, but it needs mana buff. I would possibly be like, oh, why not make it like have extra 2 power? I mean HP. Why not? Why is it like TF one of the weakest champions for 4 mana? I mean, you spend 4 mana for a 2/2 stats. That is crazy low. I don't think there is any other champion that has like that low stats for the amount of mana it actually has. Now, if you look at like Shen 3/5, Callista 4/3, Jinx 4/3, Yasuo 4/4, and this dude has the same thing like Yasuo does, to like it has quick attack and just do 2. Like really? What? Yeah, with Nasus as well, and it's even expensive. Yeah, it's just like that. It needs some buff though. I wish it would be kind of like a small buff to it. I mean, his abilities are used more in aggro than anything else at the moment. Or Nami TF, but Nami TF is just kind of like not that popular. I don't really hate Nami TF though. It's kind of like very interesting, one way to play this game. I would play it more if it would be kind of like more okay and be available. I mean viable. Yeah, Veigar 1/4. That's a different story, because it's not like you play it for the stats though, and you play TF for the stats sometimes, because you want to attack with TF as well. You want to do stuff with TF. You want TF to survive. You don't really care. You do miscall on Veigar, but if you do miscall on TF, you don't get anything. But you get so much from Veigar. And basically, for TF, it's not worth to get it back. If the enemy destroys it, you play another one. His skill ability is the reason people play it, and not the reason of what his level 2 is. Level 2 is actually very amazing. That's what I like about it. Okay, we have Misfortune. Misfortune is currently by far should be next to Quinn. I don't want to put it next to Quinn though, but because I said the same thing. Misfortune is okay. It's funny. I'll tell you why. Because Quinn, you have only one deck. Like it's with Misfortune. But Misfortune has multiple decks. You can play it in the Pirate aggro. You can play it in any other decks. Like you could make a fun build with Irelia. I like Misfortune Irelia. That's actually kind of like normal and okay. But these two together are just kind of like too bad. I believe if one of them would be not broken, I mean not strong together, they wouldn't be strong together, I think it would be kind of like acceptable. But because they are together most of the time, that's the reason I'm not thinking about like Queen doesn't need a nerf. Okay. Next one is Taric. Taric is okay. Tarek is okay. Don't need a buff, don't need a nerf. Tarek is okay. There's already like Tarek Pantheon, just people refuse to play it because Yumi is better, or that's what people believe. But there's a good combination with Golden Aegis, and it's insane as well. It's okay. I don't think it needs a nerf changes. He got buffed like quite a lot, so it's kind of like okay, right? I don't think it needs it. Next one, Lulu. Lulu is okay. Problem is, Lulu's support cards are terrible. That's the reason Lulu's support cards are in PNC instead of like Ionia, where it's supposed to be. And these cards are Flame Chopper. Flame Chopper is so good with Lulu, it just makes it just good. Nothing else, just that. And because it's kind of like restricted with PNZ being like burn and all, I don't hate Lulu and Fizz. It's kind of like a very neat deck. I actually kind of like it, not because of the yawn, just because it kind of like is fun to do these combos. For me, I believe. Next one is Trondle. Trundle is an okay champion. Very expensive for what he does. Doesn't do anything, but has regeneration. If the enemy removes it, you're kind of not sad. And it's kind of like a combo card. It's not needing a nerf. It's kind of like okay, no OP. And that's all. I think that's kind of like fair. Next we have Nocturn. Nocturn is gonna receive a buff very, very soon. So I believe like Nocturn is a champion I would possibly kind of like not buff, but a small buff wouldn't be that much of a terrible idea. I mean, Diana Nocturne is a deck though, so I don't think it's kind of like needs a nerf or change. I guess there is some buff needed, like make it is level up instead of 5 Nightfall attacking. Instead it could be 4, that's what I would change. A very minor one. Okay, next one. Leona. Leona as well, I don't know if it needs a buff, but because it doesn't see much play, it doesn't have any support cards, I would possibly love Daybreak to be a thing, because Daybreak is kind of like fun. I mean, I like Nightfall, but Daybreak is more fun. That's all. I don't really know what else you could do. You could make more control decks with Leona, like I don't know what you control for Azrael. Would make sense. It's kind of fun to think about these, but so far I think it needs something. Diana is okay. Diana is very broken in my eyes because it's a 2-mana 2/2 challenger with quick attack. Bruh, really? 2-mana 2/2 quick attack. It removes everything. God damn it! It's so easy to remove something. It's okay though because they don't really have that much of a decks with it. It's basically Nocturne, Diana is kind of like good together. That's all. You can't play like Diana with anything else because if you try to do like Aphelios Diana, which people try, it's not people not playing it. Like why would people play it though? They don't. This makes no sense. Okay, Azrael. Azrael is okay. Azrael is okay. I don't believe like Azrael is like overpowered or weak or needs a buff. It's okay. It's okay. It's a 10 mana good finisher. A 10 mana finisher is good. You can cheat it out with target speed, FTR. FTR just basically just summons it, nothing else. I mean, it has 10/10 stats already, so it doesn't do anything. It just summons your units for like 12 mana. You spend 2 extra mana for one more card that is actually 10/10 as well to level it up. It makes sense. It's kind of like not the same value, but it's kind of like there. It's there. I think it's kind of like okay. I like the target speed Azrael. Next one is Tom Kench. Alright, Gloom, see you in 2 hours. Next one is Tom Kencho. We are almost full. Finished. Almost half of them. Oh god. Tom Kench is that combination of Soraka, I believe they are not strong enough. I would possibly buff something in here. I don't really want too much, but it kind of needs it. That's the thing. So I don't really want it to be buffed. But if you want like Tom Kench Soraka to be played, it needs a small buff, and that's all. And the same goes for Soraka as well. Soraka would be actually benefiting so much in Galio Soraka. I would love to see like Galio Soraka, but there's not a lot of support cards in Targon for and Demacia for Soraka to be able to heal that much. So that's my same idea. Okay, next one is Shyvana. Shyvana is an okay champion. I don't think Shyvana needs to be buffed, nerfed. It's cool, it does its ability, it has Fury, it got buffed to be Fury, and if you do like dragons one day Dragon's gonna come over the expansion, it's gonna be like very crazy. But the thing is, Shyvana is okay, it's not broken, but because it's not seeing that much play, that's the reason I'm just saying like it possibly needs a buff. It's not okay, it needs a buff. Not Shyvana particularly, but the deck you play Shyvana in. I don't know what, but it just needs to, because it's kind of like not good enough. That's my problem. Then we have Victor. Victor is okay. I don't believe Victor got like too crazy. Only crazy thing about Victor is the ballistic boss. And ballistic boss gets nerfed. I mean, a lot of times, like, Victor was not seeing play. People complain about Victor, like, being weak. And I believe that's not bad. It's not bad that he's weak, right? It's not bad that he's strong now. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't need nerf. Doesn't need buff. Let it be chill, being chill a little bit. Next one is Zoe. Zoe is okay. Zoe is a champion that is a big threat. If you manage to level up Zoe, you win the games sometimes. If you're focused on leveling up, it's kind of funny, but it doesn't work out. And in some games where you have Zoe and she levels up, you definitely win the game already. And it's kind of like, okay, I don't want any nerf, don't want any buff, I don't want anything to change on the girl. I mean, maximum you could think about like level up requirement would be instead of 10, 9. So it could be like kind of easier to level up. But then, nah, I don't think that would be too good for the meta. Make it faster, because her level up doesn't really do anything at the moment. If other decks are faster, for example, the Sundas or the Trey. But they are gonna get nerfed anyway. Alright, next one, Riven. Riven is a champion that I believe is okay. It was never weak, never OP, and never required a buff. It was always 3 mana, 3/4 that did something. It got buffed as well, like you don't have to place them before turn, your starting turn or your rally turn, to get like one reforge. So the moment you play it, you get a reforge if you have the attack token. And that's the only change that happened. And even that didn't really manage to make a lot of decks with Riven though, but there were some attempts though. And I don't believe like it needed any changes. You know, the game changes and it kind of like revolves now on Riven. Like you can play Riven and Rumble, and I think that's kind of like cute. Riven Victor is kind of like a thing because of created cards, and they are kind of like are designed together, so that's kind of like okay. Next one, Aphelios. Aphelios was almost good before, and now it is okay. It's okay. I don't think it's broken. I mean, it's playable now. It's fun to play sometimes. If you are very skilled with Aphelios, you could actually just do crazy stuff with him. It's ridiculous how crazy you could do, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, next one is Renekton. Renekton. Oh wait, we are too big now. There we go. Renekton is a champion that is super weak. Super weak. I believe it's the worst champion out there. Level 3 is insane, by the way. But level 1, level 2 doesn't do anything. It doesn't. It's an aggro card. Even in overwhelm aggro, it doesn't work. It's just too weak. You can't do anything with it. It's just people remove it, people trade with it. It doesn't do anything. It just gets one buff. It's just 4 mana. You would rather play something else that does something. Control or something. You don't really deal that much damage with, like, you know, this. You have to use a different card to trigger his ability. And that makes it even worse though. It doesn't have the ability on its own. Like, if it would be like play effect, put vulnerability on one unit, it would be seeing a lot much more play. like, why is that kind of like a bad thing? Why couldn't you just kind of like give vulnerability to some units? I mean, why not? Why can't you just give them? I mean, there's lots of ways to give open like vulnerability, but you have no choice over them, apart from kind of like exhaust or his signature spell. You have to play it, right? You have to play that. That's a problem. You spend 2 cards for an attack, they can actually just stun on, and you just kind of wasted enough resources for something that doesn't pay off for you. If you leveled it to level 2, it doesn't give you anything. That's the problem. So it needs a big buff. Jarvan is a card that is okay. Because Jarvan is a card that is... it is having a very cool effect. You can summon it and yeah, from your hand on attack. You can manage to do like Quinn and Jarvan to make like scale double attack with Jarvan. It's crazy, but you can do it. And I did it, and I loved it, and I want to see more of it. And basically that's all. And yes, I wouldn't really care too much about it. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking about it. And getting this off from How Long Abyss just feels too great. Next one is Talia. Talia is a bit too broken, I think. But I don't know if it actually needs a nerf. It's a very cool ability. I think somehow I want to nerf this card, but I don't know how much. It's kind of like between OP and okay. If there would be one more line here, I would put Talia there. Because she can be leveled up pretty easy. You can do that on burst speed. You can summon another landmark, brother. You have like Deval dying, and then you have the landmark there. You just copy it. You immediately summon one more landmark that actually helps him or her to level up faster. Like, you just have to place 4 landmarks and have 1 landmark while you have 5 mana to level her up. It's crazy. I would possibly nerf it a bit, so it needs more landmarks to be able to trigger that. I would nerf it. I would nerf Talia. I don't like Talia being that strong though. I would only nerf the level up requirement though, but it needs a nerf. A small nerf, but needs one. I didn't say like, didn't mention like what kind of nerf, but it needs some nerf. Lissandra is an okay champion. It's a very cool one. It has its ups and downs. Ups are actually kind of like TLC and Frozen Trolls, but apart from that, there's not a lot of decks you can use Lissandra with. But it's kind of like fun champion to play if you play some decks. If it would be kind of like some kind of new cards coming out where you can play Lissandra, or is there a reason to, then that would be actually kind of be actually fun. Nasus is the next card. Nasus needs a buff. It actually does. It's not too weak, but currently the meta is not loving Nasus too much. And I want it to be loved more. Need to love it more. I just don't like it. It's not seeing so much love. Right, next one is Rekindler. Rekindler got buffed to be okay. I actually didn't feel like it's gonna be that bad that they buff like Rekindler, but when they did, it just literally meaning like Rekindler, you bastard, you OP as hell now. And then it turns out it's not OP. And it's just kind of like fun to play with it, and it's just kind of like seeing it in play in some certain decks. But if you see it on the board, it's just kind of like a big threat anyway. And if you can't save it, it's just different position. Not Rekindler, but Kindred. Kindred. I said Kindred now. Rekindler. Kindler. Kindred. Did I say Rekindler? Never mind. Sorry. I want to say Kindred. 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 It's very kind. It's okay. Next one we have Severe. Severe is broken. Severe is broken. Brother. Broken. Needs a nerve. Severe needs a nerve. Literally does. It needs something change. Severe Nocturn, too strong. At least too OP. Yeah. Considered of the rest of the champions, yes. Okay, Severe, I'm telling you why. Enemies have to spend multiple resources to remove a 4-cost card. Multiple resources mean they have to use more than 4 mana, more than 1 card to remove Severe from the board, and then they can play more. One more, and then you are kind of like out of juice, nothing else. You can't come back from this. That's the reason I say it's broken. 4 mana, 3 with spell shield is too broken. The thing is, some decks counter it by having not spells but ways to remove it, like Challenger. That's the reason it is kind of like not having that big of a win rate, just 60%. But that's making it even worse though. Like a lot of times people just don't know what to do against like that, and they're just kind of like stuck, right? Riven, yeah, then you just buff it with like, you know, sharp sight. And that's all. Your Riven doesn't do anything anymore. And it still has 3 HP, like, right? Riven 2x. Yes, but you can't cost that on, put that there twice on the time, well, you have it on the board. So it's literally not good enough. You spend like one Riven, they just kind of like, here you go, you can't remove it. You need to play 2 Ravines in a row. You just smack the face for 5 damage every single turn because it doesn't die. So we just kind of like lose the tempo. You think you can remove them, and they just keep their units alive, and they just remove you. Easy as that. That's why I think it's kind of like too broken, and it needs a small nerf. There we go. Next one is Libonk. Libonk is a champion that is in my sight. Okay, but I think it needs a little bit of a small buff, so it's kind of like sees more play. Because if you have a choice between like any 5 damage champions with quick attack, you would choose like Severe and Rumble instead of like Libonk. Like, yes, because it's better. I mean, it's literally, you spend 3 mana for a 5/2 with quick attack, and Rumble is the same, but 1 extra mana crystal and has 1 extra HP and has spell shield as well. Bro, 1 mana and has 1 extra HP, spell shield. There's nothing else. And it has a cool ability as well, and impact as well. This one doesn't have anything. It just basically just trades into anything. That's all. Not good enough. Needs to be changed in order to be competent enough for the rest of champion base. Okay, next one is Azir. Now that Azir got Sundisk is broken. Azir is not. Azir is kind of like, okay, if you could level up Sundisk the same way you could do it, and you have only Azir and perhaps not Giraffe, like you could have like Renekton or Nasus to level up the Sundisk, or you just kind of like have Azir, you would win the game immediately. So Azir is just okay. It's good in Irelia, it's kind of like good, right? I would just totally go for this. You wouldn't say that, because Sundisk is on the meta, you would go 2p needs a nerf. No, you're talking about level 3 of Azir. Yes, that needs to be like weaker, but it's not too bad. It's kind of like okay. Next one is Zillion. Zillion is a champion that I think is okay. I don't think it needs a buff. It's okay. I don't think it needs a buff. I don't really feel like Zillion is that bad. But I think it needs a buff. The problem with Zillion, it just kind of feels needs a buff. Because I like playing him. He's one of my favorite champions. I try to play so much decks, so much games, and it just doesn't work out. You have fun decks with this, but level 2 is just so weird. And it doesn't feel like it's kind of like okay. Next one is Malphite. Malphite is a champion that is needing a small buff. A very small one. Like, I don't think you need to change anything in his ability. Only thing I would just buff on it, but basically, you know, where on the right top side there's showing the target icon, I would put instead of target, show remain there, and it will be kind of like okay. But yes, it needs something. It totally doesn't feel like it's good. Irelia is bad. It needs a buff. Azrael is a deck that actually kind of like good. No. And I don't think I need buff. Only thing I actually want Irelia to buff with, so it's not forced together with Azir. I just hate that they are forced together. If Azir wouldn't like be like this, Irelia could be like played with Misfortune, and I would love that. That deck archetype is so much better and so much fun than spamming a lot of Sand Soldiers. But I guess it is what it is. We might as well see some interesting mechanics later if there's gonna be some new cards in Bilgewater, because Bilgewater needs new cards. Okay. Next one is the Lurk mechanic. Lurk mechanic is okay. Both of them. Now that Pi got nerfed, I don't believe like it's kind of like need justice for the level 2 ability. If there were games where enemies had the death from below 3 times, and I believe if they would just get like death from below 3 times, I mean, they need to win the game, right? It's just kind of like how it is. But 2 times there were games I actually won. And it's kind of like fair at some point, but sometimes no, but sometimes yeah. It's just kind of like luck based, and they have to have like sometimes luck, and I guess that's kind of like fine. Alright, smaller now. Next one is Echo. Echo is a champion that is that needs a buff. Echo Zillion decks are actually quite powerful, but they need some buffs. I don't know what kind of buffs. Possibly I won't change the stats. Echo, I would never change the stats. I would just add more support cards in PNC. For example, like predict this, something nice happens. Like the Hexite Crystal. I guess nothing like this will happen, but maybe something. there was gonna be one more champion that has some prediction stuff. That would be so cool, and we're gonna see that in the future. So we're gonna be like waiting for that to happen. Next one, Viego. Viego is a champion that is okay. The reason I think like Viego is okay is because there's a lot of decks that actually kind of like Viego is fine. Viego is fun to play, nice to play. I mean, basically, if the enemy doesn't have a chance and plays a deck that doesn't run damage control, you will control them, you win the games. But it kind of feels like a bit weak, so kind of like I still put it on okay because I feel like it is okay. I don't want to change anything. Next one we have Akshan. Akshan is a champion that I've always thought is OP and needs a nerf, but I don't really want to nerf it. I would possibly just kind of like not nerf it, but change some support cards. And I think I'm gonna leave it like this. Nerf Severe, leave Akshan there, and then we can talk about games. And yes, that's all. I don't think I want to have both of them together that much, or just make it a weaker version because they are just too powerful. Absolver is broken as shit, but it's nothing wrong with Akshan, so it's not Akshan's fault that like Absolver is broken. I also to nerf Absolver like it to be either focus spell or yeah, I would just nerf it to focus spell. So they have to do pre-commitments if they want to do stuff, and or just make the second ability like Absolver Return Focus. The first one can be a burst speed, just because if they want to use it as a combat trick, they can do it. But combat trick with Overwhelm is basically very cringy. Next one is Poppy. Poppy is a champion that is weak at the moment. I would buff it a little bit. Possibly give it more HP. I believe Poppy got like stomped on too much, I think, and that's what I believe needs a small change. Next one, we have Caitlyn. Caitlyn is my favorite champion in PNZ, I think, and yeah, she deserves good cupcakes. Flash bombs triggering faster, easier. I love playing her, I love blocking with her, I love attacking with her, I love trading with her. It's cool. Makes Azrael and Caitlyn broken, possibly. But I guess it's kind of like makes sense that they are actually together and making the deck archetype. If I would nerf the deck list, I would possibly make Azrael a little bit, like nerf it a little bit. Like if I think about it, I think Azrael needs a small nerf. Like the law of requirement on Azrael is too easily done, and they do more anyway. So possibly it would be nice if it would be not 6 targets, would be 8 or something, or 7. I would nerf it, but I will leave it as okay because at the moment I don't have anything against them. Darkness is here. Currently Darkness is in C play, and I'll still put Veigar on to OP and Senna to as okay. So the reason I'm doing this, like put some champion in okay and some champion into the O2 OP needs a nerf, because if I would put both of them in okay, nothing would change, but I want something to change. Either one of them is gonna get nerfed, or one of them is gonna be like not as great. But they're stuck together, like the same thing I'm thinking about Quinn and Misfortune. I don't want them to be that strong together, but I still want them to be together. Like I want Senna and Veigar to be attacked, but I don't want them to like increase darkness so easily like they do usually. It's just too broken, especially when you play like a minion deck, a meaty deck. It just kind of like destroys so many decks that actually kind of like build up on units instead of like instead of like combo decks or aggro decks. It just they have everything, every answer for every deck. That's the reason I believe it's just too good. Even though it currently doesn't see play because how the meta is currently, but you know, overall that's what I believe. Tristana is an okay champion. I don't believe I would nerf it. She was quite strong in Golden Aegis, Demacia deck with Faye. I don't see that much play anymore. I like Tristana, possibly I would buff it as well. I would buff just Tristana, by the way. I would buff it, but yeah, I would buff the support cards so Tristana would be more playable in different deck. And actually kind of funny because we saw like a lot of decks with Tristana, and the best one was the Golden Aegis one with the Fae builds, and I don't like that much, so kind of like feel like Tristana needs to be there somewhere in the meta, apart from Demacia. That's broken. Nice. So we have Cyan. Cyan's a champion, I believe is an okay champion. I don't think it's too broken or needs a buff. I don't believe. I possibly like. I would buff it back to 10 power, the first part, but not the second part. I hate that it rallies though, and it has like 20 damage in like one turn. I don't like that, but it's kind of like the gimmick of the deck, and I would just want it to nerf a little bit, not too much. And a lot of people like Cyan anyway, but and they will actually buff it very soon. So that's what happens pretty much. Okay, next champion is basically Nami. Nami needs a buff, obviously. Or maybe not really. No, Nami doesn't need a buff. Nami is an okay champion because her kit is kind of like very strong. I don't believe it needs a buff. It's just kind of like people stop playing it because people refuse to play non-broken decks, and it's kind of like it's okay. I don't like broken decks, but you know, it's okay. It would be nice if we could see some kind of like other decks apart from TF to level up and stuff. It's kind of like a nice deck. We could see some prank decks and see some of them above them cards perhaps. But I'm actually kind of fine how she is currently. Giraffe is one of the things that actually kind of like is overpowered. At one certain points I would nerf it down because Giraffe is the one champion only that does at burst speed damage your units. There's no other unit or other champion or anything that damages your units, your enemy's units on your turn, and you still do your stuff. It makes too broken. Also, this Giraffe is the level 3 reason like Sundress is working, so there's that, and I think people agree with that. Next one is Ziggs. Ziggs is a champion I think is again too strong. I don't know. I just literally nerfed at the moment Ziggs and Talia, but that's for a reason though, because Ziggs is just too powerful in an aggro deck, too powerful in any other deck. I would kind of like prefer like Ziggs being like a 1-4 or a 1-5 or something that does the same ability and everything, because of the thing. I would just change it. It just needs a nerf or change, and I won't change. That's what I believe. Why is it not stretching though, by the way? I want to be stretchy, boy. We have still like 9 more champions to go through. Then we have Jace though now. Jace is literally a champion, I believe. I would put in okay, as in it's not too weak, not too broken. I like how Jace is Jace needs to be like that. Jace is kind of like, okay, it's kind of fine. Jace is alright. I'm fine with Jace. Jace is cool. The deck archetype is cool. It's kind of fine. Nice. Next one, Cannon. Cannon is okay as well. Cannon doesn't need a nerf. People just kind of like don't like playing Ahri and Cannon. But if you want, I can show you. It's still kind of like very competitive deck with Ahri Cannon, because you don't just get like easy victories anymore because of how fast you can actually get your 1-drops from the Kinko Wayfinder. You no longer do that, so you kind of like play fair, and I guess people hate fair games. That's the reason they play like Sunless at the moment, because it's not fair. And the reason I'm scrolling out right now, because we're going to Pantheon, and Pantheon is obviously on the #1 choice of 2 OP. Needs nerf, brother. It is a card I hate. It is broken. It is random. It is not that random, by the way. It is random keywords. It is too easy to level up. It is turn 6 victory. It's the same problem like Sundays. It hasn't changed though. It hasn't changed. My problem is why nobody caring about like Pantheon being broken? Because Pantheon is fun to play for some people who like winning, right? That's my problem. It's just literally that's how it is. And yeah, I don't like that kind of stuff. Okay. Rumble, what do you think? Good? Not good? OP. Rumble is for sure one of the most interesting champions, and I would put it into okay, as it could be broken as well, but because you have to kind of like force a deck around Rumble, and it could be aggro, it could be anything. That's the reason I kind of like it, because it's versatile and it's actually good, and it's fun to play with Mecha Yordles. Mecha Yordles got like a huge buff, and I believe that the buff was not necessary, but I guess Riot said so. Ahri is OP. Yeah, you just hate Panzer because he's a cool, weird naked dude with bug muscles and strong spear. True. I just hate Pantheon because it's kind of like a 4-mana arsenal that is kind of like doesn't have that much requirements, and basically you win the game without having Pantheon as well, because you use the unkillable Orban and 10-12s, you know, and you're kind of like trying to build a board, like a small board, and they just kill it and then kill you at the meantime. You're always forced to block because they are so strong. That's the problem. Okay, next one is Ahri. Ahri is basically okay. Ahri has been seen in Lulu Ahri and Ahri Cannon. I believe Ahri is kind of like a force build up, but it's kind of like nice. You can level her up, win the games. Now that it's nerfed, no, not OP anymore. I mean, when Ahri was nerfed, Pantheon should have been as well, but I guess that's fine. He fights demons. Well, I guess demons are the trolls on the internet, I guess. And he says problems. Nice. Next one we have Yuumi. Yuumi is a champion. I feel like it is okay. Yuumi is okay. If you play a deck with Yuumi, it just feels like not broken. But you play a deck with Pantheon, no matter which champion, it feels broken. It's just kind of like one. Enjoy. Well, we are almost finished though, and then we go on to games though. I think my Pantheon needs a buff because it gets crappy keywords, but for your opponent Pantheon is too much. Yeah, the problem is opponent's Pantheons are always like Spell Shield elusive, quick attack, I mean Spell Shield elusive, Scout, the Overwhelm is already there, and lifesteal, and what else can it get like that's actually broken? The problem is it's like turn 6, 7 keywords, and you'd be like, wow, what can you do against it? Spell shield, unkillable. Bruh, if you could kill it, it would be nice, but you can't kill it because it has barrier as well when you play it. Like, does it need barrier anymore? I felt like first it needs barrier because how else will Pantheon survive? And then I realized, like, wait a moment, Pantheon never dies because he is fighting until he's ragged. Nice. Galio is the next champion. Galio, I think, is a champion that is not strong enough to be on the meta, so it needs a little bit of buff. It's not okay enough, so I believe it needs buff. Okay, next one is Udyr. Udyr, one of the weakest champions, obviously. Why else would you play Udyr? Apart from kind of like no other reasons. You use up a champion slot, that's the problem with Udyr. You don't want to use up a champion slot. Any of these bottom side champions, the weak and buff required, they are kind of like wasting champion slots, right? If they would be followers, then they would be kind of like, okay, alright. But they are not followers, that's the problem. They are champions, they actually feel like followers. Nice. And the last champion is Gnar. Gnar is a champion that I felt like it was too OP last time, but now I almost feel like it needs a buff. But because I feel like if you want to play Gnar, you can still play Gnar. I still wish they would have kind of like not done overwhelm on the level 2 of Gnar. Just make it like have quick attack still and nothing else. Quick attack and fearsome instead of overwhelm. I would possibly would like a fearsome, brother. Fearsome instead of overwhelm would be the best choice, and keep the 4 power because that's what I feel like is needed. Because then you could actually block Gnar, right? And not take damage. That's my problem. It's used as an aggro card, and I believe it should be used as a controller. And that was the tier maker. And thank you for listening to me. And I'm gonna be uploading this to YouTube, so in case somebody actually wants to know my opinions of cards, these are my opinions. And basically, there's a lot of okay champions in this game, and Riot does a very excellent job at keeping a lot of cards almost good, but there's too many that are actually above good, and I would rather not have that much. I would rather have so much little. If I would kind of like rethink now what I actually put above here, I'll possibly kind of like put Azrael here as well, in that terms of Caitlyn and Azrael. Like, Azrael needs a small nerf that way, but because I think the way Azrael is played with other decks, I think actually it's kind of alright that kind of like Azrael and Caitlyn exist. I mean, it didn't really exist too long ago, and now it again. Because they are weak against like swarms and a Lulu Fizz or something like that with big units like Poppy, because they can't remove them in time and they deal as much damage to them, and they are kind of like beatable. But the current decks they are playing against, they are strong, but not too OP.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitch. This is where I record most of my stuff. Bye!